Difficult conversations happen in every aspect of life. And mainly, what this difficult conversation is about is that you might have to deal with the consequences of that conversation. It's between family, friends, neighbors, government, and in the workplace. Difficult conversations are very difficult bi-directional. Sometimes an employee has to have a difficult conversation with a supervisor, superior, or employer. And in other cases, the difficult conversation is in the other direction, where a supervisor, employer has to have a difficult conversation with the employee. Let me clue you in to a maybe unwanted fact. Difficult conversations are always difficult. And if a difficult conversation where you have to deliver some not so pleasant, harsh, maybe life changing news is not difficult for you, or you don't have any emotion attached to it, you might want to check yourself, because that means you have disengaged. And we don't want to live our lives in a disengaged state. However, difficult conversations stay difficult. All we can do is be prepared to have the conversation. That's all you can do. Be prepared to have the conversation. And as you are prepared to have the conversation, whatever the consequences are of that difficult conversation, you are ready to receive because you prepared to have this difficult conversation. One tip is to know clearly, without a shadow of a doubt, why you are having the conversation. Is this conversation to address behaviors that have been addressed several times? And now there is some consequence to those behaviors? Is this a conversation where the behavior has been not addressed? It has been avoided, and now it's time to really actually come to terms because you can't avoid it anymore. So those are situationally sort of the same, but because of behavior, they're greatly different, and the outcomes might be greatly different. So you need to prepare. The person who's already had a series of conversation and now must have a difficult conversation after numerous previous conversations has a different preparation than the person who's avoided talking about those things and now you have to address it, but you've never addressed it prior. Those are two different preparations. So, one, you must know exactly the reason why you're having to have a difficult conversation. And also, you need to know what you want out of the difficult conversation. You want to know what your desire for the results are. Now, if you know exactly what your desired results are, then you could plan for that and more than likely achieve that. But if you go in based on emotion, without preparation, there's no telling what outcome you'll receive. Now, having preparation and knowing exactly the outcome that you want does not guarantee that you'll get that outcome, but it does benefit you in the favor of getting that outcome. Percentage wise, you'll have more chance of getting what you want out of that conversation if you've prepared, you know exactly what you want, than if you just know what you want and go in and have a conversation. Sometimes people go into conversations prepared, but they haven't really taken the time to identify what exactly do they want out of this difficult conversation. Some people go in knowing exactly what they want, they haven't prepared. Now, this is in general. All of this is based solely in communication. Difficult conversation, difficult communication. So it's usually when an issue has arisen, boundaries have been crossed, something's been done incorrectly, there's a pattern of behavior that's unacceptable, something unacceptable has transpired, something against rules, procedures, regulations has transpired. In the workplace, in some cases, this difficult conversation is to let someone go. In some cases, this difficult conversation is to check behavior so we don't get to the point of having to let someone go. Sometimes a difficult conversation is standing up for yourself when you are being unfairly treated. That's a difficult conversation. Your job is on the line. You have to go and say to your supervisor, employer, when this happened, I felt extremely uncomfortable. Bi-directional difficult conversation. And the way to be able to manage, not get rid of, manage difficult conversations is by one, preparing for the conversation. Two, knowing exactly what you want out of that situation. And three, knowing why you're having the conversation in the first place. So those are the three main things that need to happen in order for you to manage a difficult conversation. If you found this helpful, drop helpful in the chat. I am your Biz Hitman of ALM Consulting, and I'm here for it. Drop a question in the chat or a situation in the chat, and I'll be happy to respond.